All right, greetings, beautiful people. Thank you for joining us for another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of dance, apparently, and holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, it is my honor, my privilege, my blessing in life to be joined with an amazing co-host. And she goes by the name of... What's your name, bro?
The Health Nerd.
Uh-huh.
Or Sinclair, as some folks may know me. Most people, but...
Everybody. But we are back. I know last episode y'all had to sit through just me ranting. I know some of y'all were like, bruh, the reason why we're on this podcast is to listen to the Health Nerd. Where's she at, Devon? I brought her back.
I was there saying that.
That's exactly what I heard all the messages, and if y'all don't know, you can send us messages on the Anchor app. You can also send us DMs on True Health Forever on Instagram, or go to our website, truehealthforever.com, and also send the messages there. So, yes, I was getting a whole bunch of imaginary and virtual messages saying that we want the Health Nerd back. Bring back Sinclair. So, back by popular demand.
Here
Sinclair the Health Nerd. Alright?
Your wish is my command.
Boom. So, genie in a bottle or genie in a t-shirt, can you please let the folks know what we will be discussing in today's episode?
We're going to be discussing obesity. And in the broader sense, so I'm reading this book called The Obesity Code right now by Dr. Jason Fung. And it's got just some very fascinating information inside of it. And even on the way here, on our drive back home, we were listening to the audiobook, and even in just like the 20 minutes we were listening to it, it sparked some very good conversation. Mm-hmm. So I think it's definitely something, we talk a lot about different things on this podcast in terms of like, what's your vision? What's your, checking your mental health? But we wanted to kind of bring it back and talk a little bit about the physical health again, because we do have an obesity epidemic, happening right now. And one of the things that they talk about in the book that we specifically were listening to not too long ago was it's even to the point where childhood obesity is a thing. That used to not be a thing. So the fact that it is so prevalent in our society today, I think it's definitely worth talking about on why it is so prevalent and what are some of those factors that make it so prevalent in society today.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's very interesting because when you think about obesity and just the word obese, to me, I always grew up having a very negative connotation to that. I mean, it is negative, but on like, I've probably been in the obese category for most of my life, and I think before
I've been there.
Yeah,
proud member, Obesity Club. I was vice president at one time.
You want to be a proud member. But...
Hey, I leaned into it. It was a stage of my life that I was going through. But are we getting into the actual episode right now? Are we past the intro?
Oh, I don't know.
All right. Well, for the sake of transitioning, now let's get into the episode. Cool. So we're back. We're gonna get into the episode now as we can hear the ice cream truck circling the neighborhood. I don't know if y'all hear that bell, but that is the ice cream truck circling the neighborhood, which is a perfect transition to talk about the obesity epidemic, Sinclair. So Go ahead, kick us off. Let's get into it.
Well, we got an ice cream truck, not a fruit truck.
Right.
A smoothie truck.
Right. That is very interesting, and I feel like it's in... I don't want to say it's in certain neighborhoods, but I know this ice cream truck in particular goes to certain neighborhoods. And we only know that because we were driving down the street the other day and we're like, hey, isn't that our ice cream truck?
Our ice cream truck.
Isn't that our ice cream truck?
We've never actually been to it.
We've thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to front. We've heard the bell. We're like, ice cream does sound nice right now. That's how they get you. But yeah, it is interesting that within certain neighborhoods, there's ice cream trucks that are just circling around the block, but there's no Whole Foods in that neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So, sorry, I don't want to hog the time. This is your time, but
no, that was a very good point on like that is, I think, part of the reason why we are in the situation we are in, is that the food that is so convenient for everybody, for most people, is food that is not good for you. It is food that is super processed, and that is why it is able to be sold at such an affordable, quote unquote, affordable price, right? Because it's not real food.
Talk about
and that's why, because it's not real food. It has been filled with a whole bunch of chemicals and additives and all these things that make it so that they can put whatever they want on the label. It is ice cream, but in actuality, it's got all of these extra things into it. And I actually was talking to someone who used to work at like ice cream factory or whatever, and they were saying like, pay attention to the labels on all of their ice cream desserts or whatever, because unless it says literally ice cream, it's not actually ice cream. It's a mixture of a whole bunch of stuff. Like some of them, if you like, it'll have a picture.
Dessert.
Yes, exactly. It'll have a picture of a tub of ice cream. It'll have a picture of vanilla. It'll have a picture of a popsicle that makes you like, oh, okay, this is ice cream. But then when you actually look at it, the label says like iced dairy dessert or something like that, because it's like it may not even have real cream in it. Like Lord knows, it's got all this stuff in it.
Slick with
Yeah, but it's so interesting the way companies, they will add fillers, they will add things into it. One, to get the taste that they want, because that's what's to them most important. They want you to bite into it and be like, oh, this is so good.
And question, it's not a tangent. I want you to keep that thought. But what is happening in our bodies when we bite something that has a enormous amount of sugar or fat in it? Like, what makes us say, when we bite something that has a lot of fat, has a lot of sugar?
I'm pretty sure you'd sense off the same type of hormones that a lot of other addictive things do. So like dopamine. And I'm trying to remember the specific podcast that I heard this on. I don't remember. But it was saying like food addiction is a very real thing that a lot of people suffer from. Food addiction, yeah. So like you bite into something and you get like, it's the instant gratification of like, oh, this tastes so good that it's like that rush of hormones, one. But then two, especially anything with high levels of sugar or refined carbs, your insulin levels are going up immediately. Especially something like ice cream that's like super high in sugar. Or yeah, like I said, anything with a lot of carbs in it, your insulin levels are rising.
And that's bad.
Yes, actually, that is, according to this book,
health nerd moment coming up.
According to this book, high insulin levels are the primary cause for obesity, which I think is so fascinating, because this is the first time, actually that's a lie, because I did do a lot of research on fasting, but aside from my research on fasting, that's the first time I've even heard insulin being mentioned in the same sentence as obesity or, weight gain or anything like that, which I find very interesting. And so kind of real quick, the premise of the book is that basically debunking a lot of the myths and a lot of the common knowledge around obesity and around just being overweight, and that it is not an energy issue, meaning what is the first thing what is the first thing that most people will tell you to do when you're trying to lose weight, whether it's a doctor or a health expert or just a friend?
Like work out more,
right? Eat less, do more, right? So that's an energy thing, right? Eat less, consume less energy, and then do more. You want to expend more energy. You want to expend more energy than you're consuming, right? Calories in versus calories out, all that stuff. And that's what I've been living by too. My whole life, like that's what I thought. It made sense. It makes mathematical sense. So this kind of is a new narrative saying that it is not an energy issue. It is a hormonal issue. And the fact that so many of us are in this state where we are, not constantly gaining weight, but you're how do I explain this?
I feel like the typical American is low-key constantly gaining weight. Like, if I feel like me as a 18-year-old versus me as a 25-year-old, probably gonna be heavier.
Right.
Me as a 25-year-old versus me as a 40-year-old, and more times than not, heavier.
Right.
So I feel like typically throughout our American lifespan, we are constantly gaining weight.
And it pretty much. It might be a few pounds a year, but over 10 years, like that could be 20 pounds. That could be, and that's a lot. And in actuality, that really shouldn't be happening. It's not I feel like we kind of have accepted it to be, I feel like, a normal thing. Like, as you get older, you get the dad bod or
Let y'all know right now, True Hope Forever Podcast, y'all heard it. I do not want a dad bod. All right? You don't, I hope you don't get a dad bod.
Meaning, like, I don't want you to have one.
Oh, okay, cool. So, just so y'all know, hold me accountable. I know she's gonna hold me accountable, aka she's my health consultant for free. Appreciate you. So, let's get it.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of the times we just accept it as the norm. Women, once you have kids, it's just expected. You're gonna gain. I mean, obviously, when you are pregnant, you gain weight. That's kind of a part of the process. But I feel like it's just accepted that once you get older, you gain weight. But that's not necessarily supposed to be happening. It's a lot of how our diet, how our culture is. Very sedentary lifestyle.
Wait, what?
Sedentary, meaning not moving a lot.
Gotcha. You know when you use big words, you gotta slow down.
My bad. Sedentary, yeah, it just means like you're doing a lot of this. We're doing a lot of sitting. The average person who works 9 to 5 is sitting behind a desk. You're sitting for most of the day. Driving, you're sitting. Unless you're doing like, there are obviously a lot of jobs out there like construction workers who are like actively moving the whole time. But there are a lot of jobs where 9 to 5s and you're sitting behind a desk the whole time. That's a sedentary lifestyle. So in the increase of sedentary lifestyles and the increase of like refined carbs, high sugar, just a lot of processed foods is the reason why we are in this obesity epidemic. And a reason why it's kind of translating now into childhood obesity is because, one, they're learning the same habits. Children learn the same habits that their parents do. One,
they gonna eat what the parent pays for. Like, if I'm a healthy kid, which is interesting because I have a sister who's she was really healthy. But getting on tangent. But if I'm a kid, typically my parents are eating McDonald's. Cool, I'm eating McDonald's. My parents are eating ribs. Cool, I'm eating ribs. If my parents are eating vegan, I'm going to eat vegan.
Right.
So I feel like typically the kid is going to do what the parents did. Now, my little sister, she's a unique individual. Very unique. Strong-willed.
Yes.
All right? So around her, most people were eating, unhealthy or kind of like normal foods. My mom's kind of on the healthier side, but she's also a cook, so she'd be cooking stuff. And my little sister one day was like, you know what? I'm going to start reading the labels on everything. And if I don't like what I see, I'm not going to eat it.
That's mind-blowing for a child to be doing that.
Like, she was in high school when she was at freshman year of high school. So that was very, very different. But I feel like for most kids, they're just going to kind of go along with what's available in their